Today, I wanted to share 5 things that I do every day with my toddler to support her cognitive and physical development. Hi, my name is Shishin. I am the co-founder of Little Hands Literacy LLC. And if you are new to our channel, welcome. On our channel, we discuss all things early literacy, hands-on play-based learning, and we also go over homeschooling experiences, tips, and all the things. And so if you are coming back to our channel, welcome back. So today I am going to be going over what homeschooling my 2-year-old looks like. And so I know for some people, they may be a little put off by the idea of homeschooling a 2-year-old. But I do want to say that we know that daily life is learning for a 2-year-old. Everything that we are doing, they are taking in and learning from. And I just wanted to be a little more intentional about the activities we were doing on a regular basis. And so intention does not automatically equate to academic. I think why that may be a put off is because when we think homeschool, we think rigid schedule, we think, structured activities, we think sitting down at a desk with like activities that we have to get through every day, and that's not what this is. There were just 5 areas that I knew were very important to my daughter's cognitive and physical development that I wanted to ensure she was being exposed to and having experiences in on a consistent basis. And so because of that, I thought it would be a good idea if I planned out my weeks and had at least one activity that touched on these 5 areas every day to be more consistent and intentional with my daughter's learning. I will note I started this when my daughter was probably about 19 months, just because I saw this huge growth in her wanting to know things and just being explorative, exploring and everything. And so I wanted to be intentional then. My daughter it's January 2026 and she officially turns 2 next month, so she's not actually 2 right now, but I've been doing this for a few months now and I just really like it. I really like it because I'm intentional. I know my daughter is getting practice in all these areas and she really loves it. So I'll even ask my daughter, do you want to do an activity? And she's like, yes, activity. And she like runs into her little playroom and she's ready to go. I will say this is not a schedule. So I just literally have activities every day that we can do. They're just planned out, but there is no schedule. There's no time attached to the activities because I want to be able to flow with the energy and the want of my needs of my daughter. So I'll say a lot of times we'll usually knock out 2 to 3 activities in the morning just because that's when she has the most energy, she's most attentive. And then we'll do a few in the evening. Even though I do know the importance of all 5 areas, we do not do all 5 activities every day. I just know by planning them out, I'm going to be more successful in actually getting them done. Because if I just decided one day, you know what, I want to do a fine motor skill activity with my daughter, what can I do? Just the idea of trying to find an activity, getting the materials, setting it all up in the moment and on the spot would really deter me from wanting to do it. So this is one of the reasons why I decided to be a little more intentional with my planning and the activities we are doing every day. So to get started, I just want to go over the 5 areas that I want to ensure I am connecting some activity to on a daily and consistent basis. And so those 5 areas are read-alouds, daily read-alouds, fine motor skill play, gross motor skill play, outdoor free play and exploration, and vocabulary development. And so I am going to just go over some things that I do to kind of support my daughter in these areas, activities that we'll do on a regular basis, and why they are important. So the first area that I want to make sure we are tapping into on a regular, daily, consistent basis is that daily read aloud. And so what this can look like is just cozying up in a nice spot and reading a book with your little one. Oftentimes it can be a bedtime read aloud. You can kind of connect it to another part of the day to ensure that you're getting it in on a regular basis. So whether it's the bedtime read aloud, maybe it's a read aloud right before nap, maybe it's a read aloud right after lunch. But you really want, I really try to ensure that we are getting that daily read aloud in. And so the way that I ensure is there are actually 3 read alouds that we do on a regular basis. One is just her free pick. So my daughter loves to be read to, so I know she's going to, pick a book that she wants to read. Right now, she's all about the Llama Llama books. And so I always make sure I get in one of her favorite reads at least once a day. Usually it's more than once a day, but at least once. And then we do our math read aloud, math connection read aloud. And so whether it's a number book or a color book, but I ensure that I do that at least once a day. And then last is our bedtime read aloud. And so with me being intentional about planning those 3 read alouds, I know I'm reading to her at least 3 times a day, usually more, because like I said, she loves being read to, and she's a big Llama Llama fan right now, so we read that quite a bit. But this is important to me because I know it supports her language comprehension. It will later support her reading comprehension. It supports her vocabulary development, that emotional connection. So she knows that when we are reading together, I am focused, I am intentional, I'm including now the voices and all the things which she really gets a kick out of. And it's really fostering a love for reading, which is really important. Like, that's our focus right now. So even during this time, I'm not really worried a whole lot about asking a bunch of questions. Sometimes if we've read a book over and over, I might ask a question here or there, but that is not the goal during our read alouds. Our read alouds really are about enjoyment and exposure to language. And so that is something that I am very intentional to plan on a daily basis. The next activity that I want to make sure that my daughter is getting exposed to on a daily and consistent basis is fine motor skills play. And so what that can look like is playing with Play-Doh, peeling and sticking stickers, coloring, painting, lacing beads. So all of these things will support your little ones with their fine motor skills. And the reason why I want to make sure that I am supporting my daughter in this area on a consistent basis is because it's going to help her hand strength. It's going to help her coordination. It helps with that brain-hand connection, which are all going to support her later when it comes to writing and her pre-writing skills. And so I know that fine motor skills are what support those pre-writing skills. However, right now it's all about practicing the hand strength and developing her hand strength through play and hands-on activities. And so what that looks like for us is I try to do that fine motor skill activity earlier in the day because sometimes it requires a little more patience, a little more focus. And as we know with our toddlers, their attention span tends to wane as we get later into the day. So usually that fine motor skill is something I'll do earlier in the day, but a lot of times it consists of the things that I mentioned before, like Play-Doh play, painting, scribbling with crayons and color books. And so things like that I want to ensure that I am planning and prepping and having ready for her on a regular basis. The third activity that I'm intentional to plan on a daily basis are gross motor skills play. And so what that looks like is using all the big muscles in the body, running, jumping, throwing, climbing. So all of these things are connected to gross motor skills play. And this is so important because it supports our little ones with building their coordination, with supporting them with building up their strength in their larger muscle groups. It also supports them with building balance, body awareness, and confidence. in their body, right? And knowing that their body is going to respond and move in a way that is safe for them. And so it's really important to really, especially for our little ones, they have all this energy. And so the best way for them to get it out is just by running it off. And so what that looks like is I usually try to incorporate some gross motor skill activity. And this is something you can actually do later in the day when you're really just trying to burn out the last little bit of energy right before either a nap or bedtime. Right now, one activity that I'm doing frequently with my daughter is throwing, because my daughter's having a little trouble with that. And so I wanted to be intentional about planning activities that would support her with practicing her throwing skill. Because right now I'll throw a ball or something to my daughter, like a little blow up beach ball, and she'll grab it and carry it back to me. You know, she loves playing with the ball, she loves the activity, but she just hasn't really begun to kind of put herself out there and start trying to throw it back. And so now that I've been incorporating these activities more frequently, we do a beanbag toss where she has to toss the beanbag into her hula hoop. And she's actually starting to feel more confident about throwing it from a distance, because before she would just walk up, toss it in the hula hoop and come back, and got a kick out of that. So yeah, it was great that she was enjoying it, but just trying to help her build the confidence in being able to throw and practice those gross motor skills. Another activity that I really want to be intentional about being consistent with, more so on a daily basis, is outdoor free play and exploration. It gets a little tough in the winter months because it is really cold outside sometimes. We live in Georgia, it gets very, it can get really cold, especially for me. I'm a California girl, so 40s, 30s, that's really cold for me. And so we're not getting out as much, but because it's something that I am planning, we are definitely more intentional to get out than if I wasn't planning for these days. But this is so important to be able to allow your little one to get out. One, it supports them physically. They're able to use those gross motor skills a lot more outside with running and throwing things. It really helps build up their immune system, vitamin D, fresh air, supports them emotionally. And so I really want to be able to support her with getting out more. Also develops their sensory play, because there's so many different textures and feelings and things that they can explore freely outside, with guidance and supervision, obviously. And so some things that I like to do is just set up a sand table. She has her little table, and I can set up her little sand play and let her go to town. I know it's sensory play, and she's getting fresh air when she does it. And I feel a lot better with her doing her sand and water play outside versus inside. So just me planning to do that at least a couple of times a week has really supported me with actually doing it versus wanting to do it but not actually executing. So that's one way that's really helped me be intentional about that. Last but not least, another area that I wanted to be intentional about exposing my daughter to and giving her lots of practice in on a daily and consistent basis is vocabulary development. So we know vocabulary is really built through conversation. So all of those daily conversations that you're having with your little ones, and I wanted to also be very intentional to continue to have conversations with my daughter throughout the day, answering all of the what is that questions, also asking questions of her. But I also wanted to be intentional about planning other activities in addition to the daily conversation that would support her language development. And the reason for that is language development is huge, especially at this age. They are picking up language on a daily basis. And that's going to support them with their expressive language, language comprehension, their receptive language, what they are able to understand. And it builds their creativity when they have access to a large collection of words and language. It'll support them with their creativity when it transfers over to writing. They will be able to be so much more creative if they have access to a vast, safe collection, whatever you want to call it, of language and words. And so some activities that I do with my daughter or that I've planned to do, one is object matching. And so what I do is I'll just go around the house and I'll collect a few items and I'll put them in a little basket in like another room. And then in the playroom, this is just a little picture card, flashcard, some flashcards that I picked up. And they have little things like dress, or they'll have flower, leaf, things that if you don't have lying around your house, it's really easy. Like a leaf, you can just step outside, pick up a leaf off the ground. You have dress, it has ball, all kinds of things. And I'll just lay out 5 cards. I only do 5 cards at a time. And I'll tell her to go in the other room, pick something out of the basket. She'll go pick it up, she'll bring it back. And then I'm like, find the card that it matches. And she'll match it with the card, and then we just talk about it. I'll see if she knows the item, if she can name it, and we'll talk about how it can be used. And then she'll run in the room and get the next item. So I love this activity because she gets a kick out of running back and forth, to the basket, which is supporting her gross motor skills. But then also the vocabulary, naming the items, talking about what they're used for really supports her. Another thing you can do is if you have any animal figurines at home, you can line up the little animal figurines and make the sound the animal makes and see if your little one can find the correct animal. So if you go moo, can they find the cow? Can you talk about the name? If they're not sure of which animal makes that sound, talking about the animal that makes that sound. So I thought it might be useful if I included a really quick clip of me and my daughter doing this activity. This is her matching her little zoo animals to animal cards that I created. I will include a link to the little animals that she was using here during this activity. These were some little animals that we purchased for her birthday this year that she absolutely loves. And I will also include the PDF of the little animal cards in the description notes as well. But as you can see, she's matching the animals to the card. And I love this activity because we have done it with different categories of vocabulary words. And we've done it so often that she actually can do this activity all on her own independently. I keep the cards and the items in a cute little basket in her playroom, and whenever she feels like doing this activity, she will pull the basket down, she will lay the cards out, and she will match whatever the items are in the basket to the corresponding card. So love this activity. Another activity that you can do is connected to the read-alouds. So if you're gonna read a book about a cat and you have a little stuffed cat or a little figurine cat, maybe having that cat act out what's going on in the story, which makes it absolutely hilarious to them, but then they're also engaging a little more deeply with the story, and you can even have them act it out with the cat, and using that expressive language and the voice changes and all the things will support with their vocabulary development. And so those were some activities that I wanted to be, once again, intentional about incorporating on a regular basis. So as I mentioned before, me making the decision to begin homeschooling my toddler was not about beginning to incorporate more academics or being able to do more in our day. It was really about me being intentional about what we were already doing and about what really mattered for her cognitive and physical development right now. And so a lot of the activities we do are just hands-on, play-based activities that are supporting her in these very 5 crucial areas right now. And I'm really enjoying it. Not only am I enjoying it because my daughter is having a ball and we are having that intentional connection time throughout the day, but I also see her growing, and because we are spiraling a lot of these activities, she's really being able to grow and she understands how to play some of the activities. So I'm able to just put them on a shelf and she does them independently, which is a lot of fun to watch. And so I just wanted to kind of share that for any moms or educators out there that were looking for ways to really be intentional about some of the hands-on activities that they're doing with their little toddlers. I greatly appreciate you staying with me for the whole video. And if you have a toddler that you are supporting at home, if you wouldn't mind dropping their age in the comments, as well as an activity that you have noticed they really enjoy doing with you at home. So if you enjoyed this video, please feel free to share with another parent, homeschooling family, early childhood educator, and do not forget to like and subscribe, and so that you can continue to get notified when we drop new videos, and so that you can become a part of this early literacy, hands-on, play-based community that we are so excited to be building. Thanks again for your time.